Morning, it's time to turn our attention back to events at Tallaght last night. The Republic of Ireland 0, Sweden 1. Karen Duggan, good morning to you.
Morning.
We've had a chance now to sleep in it. In your view, a good night's work or an opportunity missed?
A good night's work. I think Sweden are second in the world. We had to be realistic about that. I don't think Sweden will drop any points in this group. I would be surprised. And we did go toe to toe with them for a long time. We rode our luck a bit in the first half, but that's going to happen against teams that are ranked ahead of you. They have some Rolls Royce strikers up there. Some of their movement was absolutely phenomenal. And we kept it to 1-0. It tells a story when your goalkeeper is player of the match. That's the type of game it was, the type of game we expected. But we held our own, and we've improved. When we played Germany in the last qualification campaign, we were conceding 3 goals. And in the first half, in that first game against Germany, it looked like it could have been 6 or 7. So there's marked improvement there, and they were in better shape. And it's something to build on, and that's the most important thing.
In the lead into the game, everybody was talking about trying to keep it tight, trying to not concede early, trying to get to 60, 70 minutes, and then try to go for it. And that was exactly as it played out last night. So did Vera Pauw get it very much right tactically?
She did. I think the shape was better. It allowed Denise and Megan to actually get a foot on the ball and join in the play, which they haven't been able to do when they've been playing 3 in the midfield. So I think that the shape was better given 4 in midfield. I think we had to play 5 at the back given the opposition threat. So I think we can employ that shape going forward against teams who aren't as good and just bring it further up the pitch. The gaps, as we started to tire between the midfield and Heather Payne, were always going to grow, and it made a really difficult night for Heather. But in a game where we'll have more possession and you'll see Katie joining in the attack, Lucy Quinn getting forward a bit more, hopefully we'll create more chances. And we know that we do have threat in those positions. We just need to be higher up the pitch, but we do need to maintain that discipline, because we can't forget that Finland are still ranked higher than us and do have some really good quality players as well.
There were certainly sections, particularly in the first half, where we looked fairly overrun in midfield, to the point that Heather Payne had to come back to try and join in to support a little bit, which was having the knock-on impact of not having that out ball then at the end. Is there ultimately no way to kind of guard against that when you're playing a team of that quality?
I don't think so. I think when you've looked at Sweden and how they've played over the last year, I think I don't know how many goals they've scored, but when you look on their Wikipedia, it's green. They had 16 games unbeaten until an Olympic final. This is a top quality team. If I'm being honest, I expected us to lose by more going into this game, and I think you could take great heart from the fact that we did only concede that 1 goal. Yes, there were times where they got in behind us, but another positive is that our goalkeeper looks confident. And previously, throughout all of the friendly games we played over the last year, one of the talking points after the game was always the goalkeeper, who should be number 1, mistakes that were made, and that didn't happen last night. So I think that that's one positive that came from us being overrun, is that Courtney finally got to show that she is a fantastic keeper. Her kicking was good. She looked really alert. She was vocal the whole way throughout the match. She was keeping her defence in line, particularly in the second half, when it would have been easy to lose concentration when you got tired. But I thought she did really well. So you have to look at the positives. I've been looking at a lot of the negatives over the course of all the friendly games up to the point at the start of this campaign. But if we are to build and beat a team like Finland, you have to look at those positives, tidy up some of the gaps that were there, but also keep the faith that you can go and beat a team like Finland. Now, they're only ranked, I think, maybe 7 places above us, so there's not that much between us when you think of the last 2 performances and how we played against Australia and Sweden.
Just on the keeper, Karen, Emma Byrne was making a point before the game last night. She was in the studio for us, and she was talking about, she was a big fan of Grace Maloney in goal, essentially, and highlighting that Brosnan had maybe a mistake in her every now and then. But you've touched on it there, the evidence last night, very confident, big save on 35 minutes as well. Is that, I mean, who knows what happens in the next game, but that's pretty much that conversation locked off now for the foreseeable if she can continue in that type of form?
It seems to be, and I agree with Emma. I would have been in squads with Grace, and I was always a massive fan. I think she's a fantastic goalkeeper, but there must be a reason why Courtney is getting the nod over Grace, because Grace is starting for her WSL club while Courtney isn't. So there's something that's going on in camp which is saying that Courtney Brosnan is the right person to start in goal. So I think that has to be the end of the conversation, that we have to trust that Vera and Jan William, the goalkeeping coach, are selected a player who is best placed to be the last line of defence for this team. Grace's WSL performances speak for themselves. So there's something we're not seeing. But I'm happy for Courtney. She needed a game like that. And it's important that you have a steady number one. We had Emma Byrne for the bones of 20 years, and we were always known as a defensive team that were solid. You didn't think that there was going to be ever too many sloppy mistakes from the goalkeeper. And that was because we had our captain and a solid character behind us for that long. And Ireland need that. They need consistency. It's been a very inconsistent up to the point of the last two games. We have looked shaky. There's been porous in defence at times and silly mistakes. And we had one episode of it last night where Niamh Fahey got attracted to the ball, Louise Quinn at the same thing, and it left a wide open space. And it was unfortunate ricochet at the moment, but they probably deserved the goal given the pressure that they had put on us and the mistakes that we made in the lead up to that point.
Karen, would you say there was a positive to be taken from the fact that when Vera Pauw made that switch to the 5-4-1, Sweden kind of adapted themselves to that change? Like you'd almost see that as a sign of respect for a team as good as Sweden are. Maybe against perhaps lesser opposition than the Republic of Ireland, they wouldn't have bothered changing their system. But clearly, they showed a lot of respect to that Ireland team last night.
I think they had to in the last 20 minutes. In the first half, we were commenting because Heather was back so far that their defence never looked under any bit of pressure, and their midfielders weren't really bothering to track back because they didn't have to. And the second half, I think maybe they did come out a little bit complacent. And as we kept it to 1-0, I think they thought they were going to come out and bang in 2 or 3 more, but they didn't because they didn't have that same urgency, that same movement and desire that they had in the first half. They just kind of were seeing out the game. And they nearly died on that sword. You know, obviously there was a few penalty shouts. I think their penalty shouts were stronger than ours, but at the same time, you never know what could have happened. We could have gotten one of those. There could have been a ricochet in the box, could have fallen to Louise Quinn when she was up front there for the last 10 minutes. But they rode their luck a little bit, and I think that is credit to us. I think more so for sticking it out, for only conceding the one goal. We were always going to try and push on then at the end, but look, they're fantastic. I think Eriksson at the back, in real life, she's probably one of the best centre-backs I've ever seen. She won every header that was asked for, even when she was marking Louise Quinn, and that's no mean feat. Her switch of play in the first half, her comfort on the ball. We were up against not only a potent attack, but a defence that don't look like they're going to concede much throughout this campaign.
One of the things that Adrian and myself spoke about at the top of the show this morning was the lack of goals with this Irish squad. And look, I was reading Brendan O'Brien in the Irish Examiner this morning, and he was talking about the lack of goals as well. And even last September, when we lost 3-0 to Germany, that it broke a record, 15th time in 16 games that we'd failed to score a goal against a side in the top 25 in the world. We saw similar, issues, and have seen similar issues with the men's team as well. Maybe Callum Robinson has changed that a bit recently. But like you've spoken on the show, like even earlier this year, I think, about the lack of our number 10, that maybe Katie McCabe is someone who should fill that void. But is that a concern for you, that the lack of goals in this squad at the moment?
It is, and it's to do with the shape that we play as well. We haven't been playing a number 10 who's had an opportunity to get on the ball and create. I think if we're going to start looking at goals, we do need to start looking at freeing up Katie a little bit more, and that means being a little bit less conscious at the back. It means not having Katie covering our full back. If we have 5 at the back, here I'll call it 3 at the back, but when we play for Ireland, it's a 5 at the back. And when we have 5 at the back, we shouldn't need our winger or one of our midfielders covering as well. You should just allow the backs to defend, because we don't have, apart from Katie, that natural fullback who's going to be able to do that all day, because we don't have possession. We don't have enough possession. So you need someone who's going to create something out of nothing. And for me, that player is Katie McCabe. I'd like to see Heather up there doing all the chasing she can, and Katie just let the shackles off Katie a bit so that she can go and play her game like she used to do when she was younger, before she was captain, before she was rolled out to every single media thing. Just someone who's so naturally talented. I'd like to see her get a bit more of that. Obviously, when you play
does
for
that
Ireland,
happen, Karen? Sorry to cut across. Does that happen against Finland? Do you think that like last night was the night to play her in that position because she's so good, and we need to keep it tight against Sweden? But like Tuesday night is the night to, and look at maybe Denise O'Sullivan's potential absence changes that too. But that maybe against a team where we might be expected to get something out of it, that she can be a bit more adventurous.
I think she can be more adventurous, but I don't think Vera will employ her in the 10. I think she was reluctant to even put her out of the left wing back position into the left wing position. Unfortunately, it's not what I'd like to see. I think she will be able to join in the attack more, and she'll be able to get crosses into the box, but I think she's better when she can go wandering. For Ireland, obviously for Arsenal, it's a different story when she's feeding Vivian Miedema, and you have Kim Little in the middle creating as well. So it's a completely different story at Arsenal. People often compare her form for Arsenal and what she should be doing for Ireland, but for Ireland, we don't have as many players who have as much of a natural attacking talent as her. Finland, away to Finland is a really, really tough task, and it's important that we don't lose that game. I would take a draw against Finland. That might seem negative because we do want to qualify, but getting them back home with the chance later on in the year to beat them with 4,000 fans would be a massive advantage. And after that Finland game, we play against the lesser ranked teams. So it would be an opportunity to tweak the system a little bit again and maybe get Katie in the 10. So I probably wouldn't move her out against Finland, just because we do have to be somewhat reserved. We can go for it a little bit more, be a little higher up the pitch, but we can't afford to lose that game. So I think that we will stick to our defensive mechanisms that we have done to this point, hope for our set pieces to be good, hope that Heather can get on the end of some long balls. All of that will still be in place. But the games after that, that's when I think we need to show more ambition and start getting goals. And that's when I think you need to have one extra attacking player on the pitch. I think Leanne Kieran's form is really good and she can play on the wing. She has pace. So I think you could play her there and push Katie in centrally. Denise is a box-to-box player. She'll do every job on the pitch for you if she's fit. So I don't think you need to have her in the 10. I think you can afford to have her in the 8 with Megan Connolly sitting beside her and Katie in the 10 in front of her. And then 2 wingers who will join in the attack with Heather.
Yeah, we'll see what happens on Tuesday night. And Finland had a 3-0 win over Georgia last night as well, which must be a bit of a red flag for us. The United Liverpool game, we better leave on a word on that. What's going to happen?
I'd say we'll be saying our prayers and lighting our candles as United fans, looking at the big performance. Obviously the drama is great, but yeah, I've been watching Liverpool since the start of the season. They're not going to concede goals in the way that Atalanta did, and United don't look like they're going to shore up in any way. Seem to play better when they go a goal down, but that won't work against the likes of Liverpool. If they have a first half like they did against Liverpool, it could be 4 or 5 as opposed to 2, and there's no coming back from that. So yeah, obviously I think United will set up to hit on the counter, but I wouldn't be overly hopeful. Yeah. It's probably going to be an awful game because of the 2 crackers we had midweek in the Champions League. It would probably be a damn squib of a 0-0. I'd take a 0-0 as a United fan at this stage, just to kind of steady the ship a little bit.
It'll be 3-2 to somebody, absolutely guaranteed. Yeah. Karen, thanks a million.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Karen Duggan, reviewing the game at Tallaght last night.